Hey guys, Surgeon here. So Runefest just happened. The main stage presentation just happened yesterday, at least for me. And the old school team released some what seemed to be promising things. I mean, the initial thing that they started off with in their presentation was everything that they mentioned at Runefest 2017. And it was really like they talked about 5 things at Runefest last year, and 4 out of the 5 they actually touched on. So 80%, most companies, I'm pretty okay with an 80% success rate, especially with as controversial of a game or community that we have in old school. Having an 80% success rate is pretty doggone good. So today I'm going to review the basic overview of the reveals that they mentioned on the main stage during the old school presentation. This video, at least in the beginning, is only going to be going over like the basics. I'm not going to get too detailed into it. That'll be in the later part. This is mainly just to kind of touch on everything. So if you missed it and you don't want to watch the whole 30-minute video about the reveals, this will be just so you guys can get the glimpse overview of everything that happened. So the first thing that they announced was something called the Kebos Lowlands. Now, if you were paying attention into like the old school social medias, they did mention, someone tweeted out or someone posted on Reddit something about doing the Hasidia's house rework. And so they kind of used that to tie in to what they were talking about with the Kebos Lowlands. And basically what they're doing is they're expanding Zaya. I guess you could say it's Zaya 2.0, but it's really not. It's really just an extension of Zaya. And they're just moving it out to the western side. So like past where Raids 1 is, like a little bit to the north of that, so it's kind of above where Raids 1 is and to the west of where like the shamans are, the Lizardman shamans and the Shazian house. So it's west out there, and they're going to be, with this, they're going to be introducing a bunch of new things. For one, they're introducing the farming guild, which they're trying to preach this, or I guess gear this towards like all farming levels, so it's not just like a high-end farming guild. They did mention that it's going to have 3 tiers in it, and that the highest tier will be 85 farming. There's going to be a bunch of different patches in there. You'll be able to farm things like snape grass and potato cacti, so you're not just subjected to having to go gather those. You can actually farm those like the game kind of seems like it should allow. So after the farming guild, they announced another area called Brimstone, which is like the northern part of the Kebos Lowlands. And a couple key things that they mentioned about this was that there was going to be a new Slayer Master, and the main thought was, or the main quirk of this Slayer Master was that one was going to give you more Slayer points upon completion of tasks, but it was also going to force you to kill monsters in certain areas. So like now, if you got assigned Abbey Demons, like most of us would just go to the catacombs and you just barrage them to get them done. Or like Necroils, you just go to the catacombs and kill the Necroils and barrage them and get it done in like 30 minutes. Well, with this Slayer Master, they'll say, okay, you're being assigned Necroils and you have to kill them in the Slayer Tower. But the main selling point of it was that it would be every kill that you got on these tasks, you would have access to a unique drop table specifically from completing these tasks. So it's not a rare drop table. It's not just like a monster drop table. It's a completely different drop table entirely. So that was kind of the main selling point behind that. So with the new Slayer dungeon, there's a lot of info that they decided to give us on it. And I'm going to try to breeze through this as fast as I can and give you guys as much synopsis as possible. So basically, it's a new dungeon. It's called the Brimstone Slayer Dungeon. There will be boots to be sold to you from any of the Slayer Masters called Boots of Stone for, I believe they said it was like 200 GP or something. Very cheap. And they give 1 defense bonus to stab/crush. And you have to wear them at all times when you're in the Slayer dungeon, or else you'll take consistent damage until you actually put it on. The drop table that is implemented whenever you're killing something on a task from the new Slayer Master, the new unique drop that they're talking about is a Dragon Hasta, which is, it's a one-handed weapon, gives you 55 stab/crush, and it has the same special attack as like a Zamorak Spear. It only costs 25 special attack, and it pushes them back and stuns them for 3 seconds. So, pretty nice. Moving on, the new Slayer creatures. There's 4 different types of creatures. Sulfur Lizards, which require 44 Slayer. Worms, that require 62. Drakes, that require 84. And the one that most people talk about are the Hydras, which require 95. They're going to drop one of their big drops is they drop pieces of the Brimstone Ring. They drop the Eye of the Hydra, the Fang of the Hydra, and the Heart of the Hydra. The ring has the stats of in attack bonuses, it's 4 stab, 4 slash, 4 crush, 6 magic, and 4 ranged. And for defense, it's the same thing as the attack stats. It gives you 4 melee strength, but the main thing it has is a special effect that the Brimstone Ring has a 25% chance with each spell cast to ignore 10% of your opponent's total magic defense. So don't really know how that's going to shape up. Be interested to see how that does in testing. They also drop something called the Hydra Tail, which you can combine with the Dragon Bone Necklace and a Bone Crusher, and it forms the, wait for this creative name, the Bone Crusher Necklace. And it requires 80 prayer to equip, and the necklace must be equipped 9 seconds in order to gain any effect from it. The necklace is charged with Ecto Tokens, just like the Bone Crusher is, and it has the same prayer restoration rate as the Dragon Bone Necklace. The stat benefits you get, the only thing you get is plus 12 to prayer bonus, and once you've done this action, it can be reversed. So if you do it and decide you don't want it, you can always undo it, which is kind of nice. The big new Slayer boss that they're talking about is the Alchemical Hydra, which also requires 95 Slayer, just like normal Hydras. They'll drop all the existing things that normal Hydras will drop, but they will also have a chance to drop something called the Ferocious Gloves. They're a tradable pair of gloves that focus on offensive melee stats. They require 70 defense to equip, so it looks like we may have a new best in slot glove for melee. It'll give you plus 16 to stab, slash, and crush, and negative 16 to magic and ranged. It'll also give you 14 melee strength, which is pretty dandy. They also have a chance at dropping the Hydra Claw, which is something you can combine with the Zamorak and Hasta, and it forms the Dragon Hunter Lance. It can't be undone, so once you've done this, that's it. It's done. It requires 70 attack to equip, and it has an added effect bonus of 20% increased accuracy and damage against dragon creatures. It does lose its defensive capabilities, so if you've got like a DFS, it doesn't really matter. Special attack, the Dragon Hunter Lance doesn't have special attack. It's literally just a weapon. Has no defenses, has 85 stab bonus, 65 slash, and 65 crush, 70 melee strength, and the attack rate of 4. So I believe that's on par with the normal Hasta, so pretty nice there. 20% increase accuracy and damage against dragon creatures. That's pretty dandy. Also has the chance to drop a pet, so obviously pet hunters have fun with that. Also has a chance to drop the Dragon Knife. It also has a chance to drop Dragon Throne Axes. If this does pass, the Dragon Throne Axe would be removed from the Chamber of Xeric loot table, so you would no longer be able to get Dragon Throne Axes from Raids 1. But Dragon Knives, they have 28 range attack bonus, 30 melee bonus, or 30 melee strength. They have an attack rate of 3, and they do have a special attack. It's a 25% special attack, and you throw 2 darts at the same time. Through 2 knives at the same time. They have the wrong wording there. Each of those knives that are thrown have their own separate like damage and accuracy roll. So it's not like a Debo or not like D-Claws where like your second hit is based off of your first hit. They're 2 independent rolls, which is kind of nice. And then every monster in the dungeon besides the lizards will have new bones. So you have worm bones, drake bones, and hydra bones. Something else that they didn't talk about, but it's actually in the dev blog, was something called Ariel Fishing. The best way to summarize this is it's like falconry for hunter, except you do it in fishing. So you click on the spot and the bird goes in, swoops down, collects the fish, brings it back, and it falls into your inventory. You can use the bird to catch the fish, but if your inventory is full, you won't get any experience for it, so it forces you to drop everything. Like I said, you can still catch it, you just won't get anything for it. So falconry, but for fishing. Another thing they mentioned with this development was that there's going to be a new achievement diary, which made me very excited considering how much I love achievement diaries. But it's for the Karen and Kebos achievement diary, so it's not just Karen or Zaya, like it's the entire continent of Zaya. It's not just Karen or Kebos, it's all of it, which is pretty cool. They also mentioned 2 new quests, which were going to be the Forsaken Tower and the Ascent of Arceus. So right now we have quests for 3 of the houses of Zaya, and these are going to be the remaining 2, one for Lovakenge and one for the Arceus house. Pretty basic quests. The rewards are here, they listed them out. Not really anything to write home about, really just completing that initial storyline. They said that they wanted to get these out because they want to progress the storyline of Zaya. The most controversial topic, and I'm saying that mainly because it's the only one that people continue to talk about, especially in my clan chat. Warding, the new skill. There's a lot to talk about here, and I'm going to try to summarize it as best I can, but this was definitely the most in-depth, controversial thing that they announced, one with it being a new skill. But basically, to summarize it, I'll go into detail with this later, or in another video, I'm not sure. But to summarize it, what we have for melee, we have smithing. So basically you can create all the melee gear, or at least some basic melee gear with smithing. For rangers, you can craft the gear. So you can make d'hide bodies, you can smith rune plate bodies, things like that. But there's nothing for magic. So they wanted to create something that would basically create magic gear, and that's what warding is. Like how with smithing, you kind of need mining. Mining and smithing go hand in hand. For crafting, you really don't have a whole lot of things to go hand in hand with crafting, but they use dragon hide, and you kind of need to kill dragons, so they said combat and crafting are linked. It's kind of a loose connection, but whatever. The partner skill, or the skill that complements warding the best, they said is going to be farming, but you will also end up using wood cutting and mining with it as well. It is a viable skill, at least that's what it seems like it's going to be. There is no real definition on it, but they did mention that basically the majority of the components that you're going to need, you can buy them, so it sounds like it's just going to be a viable skill. Not going to get into too many other details. That's really the brief synopsis of it. I'll go into a detail further explaining it later. Another thing they announced was Song of the Elves. Basically what this is they're trying to finish up a storyline. So the Elven storyline, which started with Plague City, we've already gone through like Plague City, we've gone through Biohazard, you've gone through Underground Pass, Regicide, all of that. And it's all in this one big storyline behind the Elves and who's the Dark Lord and what's going on with the Elven land. And so they're releasing the final, and they did say that this is the final quest in that series, and it's called The Song of the Elves. And it's going to tie up the storyline, not lead anywhere else. They want to finish off the Elven storyline because they think it's one of the better storylines that Old School has at the moment. One of the things that they mentioned was going to be a reward from this is that we will actually unlock Prifddinas. Now, before people start saying, it's RS3! No. They basically even said in their presentation that it's not RS3, it's going to be the old school version of Prifddinas. So, not going to be, AFK, thieving, things like that. It's all going to be voted on, like everything. They're trying to open up this portion of the map. They've been opening up different portions of the map with, Helping My Arm, Dragon Slayer 2. It's been opening up different regions of the map, and this is a region on the map that's been there like for 14 years and they haven't touched it. So they're trying to open up this section of the map. Prifddinas is going to have a lot of features in it that they've already talked about. One of them being something called the Gauntlet, which think Nightmare Zone, but you can't bring your gear in. Basically what you're going to have to do is you'll be facing off against crystalline versions of monsters, and you'll have to collect your own resources inside that dungeon. And if you don't collect enough resources, then when the boss comes out, if you don't kill him, it's over. The gauntlet's done. They didn't really have a whole lot of information on it. That's basically what they announced to us. From everything they said, it made it sound like they wanted to do one-on-one, but maybe at later levels it goes to multi-combat. So we'll have to see. Again, not a lot of info on that. They also mentioned a new skilling boss, and not like Wintertod, where Wintertod is basically abused for the experience that you get. What they wanted was to implement a skilling boss where the main reward wasn't the experience that you got, instead it was the things that you got from it. So what they're saying here is that for defeating the boss, you can expect to be rewarded with mining resources and a shot at brand new uniques, a focus on item rewards rather than experience. So we can assume that it's going to be based around the mining skill. They do say it's going to be using multiple skills, but with a focus on the mining skill. The other thing they mentioned was crystal armor. So we already have like the crystal halberd, shield, and bow, but they really wanted to create crystal armor. The Song of the Elves will grant you access to unlock the crystal armor. So it's not going to be a reward, at least that's not what it says in the dev blog. What it says is that you'll have the access to unlock it. So like how you can't use a crystal bow or a crystal shield until you've done Roving Elves, kind of the same thing. You won't be able to use the crystal armor until you've done Song of the Elves. Something else that they didn't mention in the dev blog that they actually mentioned was PvP related. So this was one thing that they touched on in Runefest 2017 that they didn't complete, or they didn't fulfill their promise on in 2018. And so they kind of gave us a little bit more info on what they're trying to do. So with the main focus on Bounty Hunter, they're going to be trying to basically give you tasks, almost like Slayer tasks, but for Bounty Hunter. So it'll be like, one of the examples that one of the mods gave was kill 10 people while wearing Darok, or go kill 5 people wearing green D-hide and a maple shortbow. So it's like, go kill X amount of people using X gear setup. Then something else that they said, this is kind of like a PR thing, it sounded like. They're going to be doing something called the All-Stars PvP tournament. So it's going to be 16 people. It's going to be invite only. And the first round of it, the prelims, or the play-ins, I guess you could say, is going to be 4 groups, and it's going to be round robin. The top 2 players of each round robin, or each group, will advance to the quarters. So we'll start with 16, we'll go down to 8. It's pretty standard. Once you're in the quarters, it'll turn into a best of 5. And what'll happen is, in those best of 5s, they will basically tell you this is the kind of gear that you're going to use. So it could be anything from like, you know, a level 1 defense pure to a range tank to a max hybrid to a max melee, whatever. But basically they'll be saying this is the kind of account you're going to fight on for this match, and it'll be best of 5. Obviously that's how the quarters and the semis are going to work. The finals will be the same format, but it'll be a best of 7. So that's really it. That's summarizing what they talked about at Runefest. A couple other things we could talk about would be the Golden Gnomes. All right, so back on the tweeter. Best artist went to Zuhar, who I think got famous, especially on Reddit, for his portrait of Neve. I think that was the guy. Oh no, his commemoration speech was actually pretty funny. The best artistic creation went to Vicky Light for doing a representation of the Saradomin Godsword. That's RS3 version. It's not old school version. Still looks nice. The best new old school streamer was Perp. Best streamer went to Curtis, and personally, I couldn't agree more. Guy's super dedicated and it's like always consistent. So gotta agree with that. I think he's probably one of the best streamers for old school. The best video of the year was the Tanzu and Virtuoso. I think it was their their 100th episode where they had like a big collaboration with a bunch of other people. So huge shout outs to them. Like, they've grown like crazy. They have super entertaining content, so good for them. The best new video maker was Ditter Bitter for his PvP content. Good for him. And the best video maker for old school was Torvesta, and I don't think anyone's going to deny that. That guy's blown up like crazy. So yeah, that is Runefest 2018 in a nutshell. I will have a video probably coming out talking more in depth about warding and my thoughts on it, and I'll probably have another video coming out about the Zaya expansion as well. So yeah, that is going to do it for me. Hope you guys do enjoy this video. If you do like it, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see more of my content, subscribe, hit the bell. And if you want to give me any kind of like hateful comments, or you just want to really let out some steam, just let me know what you're really feeling. Comment section, that's what that's for. Follow me on Twitter. That's where I announce when I'm going streaming. You can follow me on Twitch as well to be notified. CC is in the description as well as a link to my Discord if you're looking for people to come chat with. That's going to do it for me. Hope you guys have a great night, evening, morning, afternoon, night, I don't know, whatever other time of day it is.